So
Hey, thanks for
welcome,
having me.
welcome. Absolutely, it's an absolute pleasure. So I'm going to start by asking the kind of the same thing that we're asking all our guests is how are you holding up during these crazy times?
I'm doing pretty good. I kind of like it because I don't have to do anything, and it's nice. I mean,
Yeah,
like obviously, people are dying and businesses are failing and stuff,
right,
but at least I get to stay at home in my pajamas all day.
right. In a vacuum, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely want to start by saying as well I'm glad you're doing all right, that for sure. But this run of TMNT, I was telling Kevin, has been just a huge breath of fresh air into the franchise, in my opinion. I really enjoyed the road to 100 and all that, but what you've done with post 100 has been amazing. Just getting a chance to you actually broke up the family for a little bit. And that was because of the death of Splinter. So I was just kind of curious what it was like getting a chance to create almost the funeral for this iconic character, Splinter, and how emotional that must have been for you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I feel like Tom and everyone else, they did the part where he actually dies. So I felt like in some ways the heavy lifting was already done a little bit. But I mean, yeah, it's sad, but I don't know. I felt like I had like a definite idea of where the character should go and how they should deal with it and what should happen after he was dead. So, I don't know if I felt super emotional about it. I mean, maybe that's because I was too in it,
Sure.
doing it. I don't know. I mean, I hope it, resonated the way I picked up the pieces and stuff. And trying to figure out a way for his legacy to live on and all that stuff.
Oh, I think you absolutely do. Especially when you see that scene where of all turtles, you see Michelangelo just breaking down, who's usually just the fun-loving party dude, and you see him go from fun-loving party dude to just bawling his eyes out, and his other brothers are huddled around him and they're all hugging and stuff. So I definitely think you nailed the emotional impact of that scene. But it's funny you mentioned the Splinter Clan because I wanted to talk a little bit about that next. What was it like getting a chance to put characters like Jenica and Alopex are basically in the inner circle now? So what was it like adding those characters, and are we going to see any other characters potentially soon in the Splinter Clan?
That was really cool. I was really glad that they let me do that. The Hamato clan, they're great and everything, but I felt like Lord Smaps does. I'm very good at drawing sad turtles. That's definitely my forte, is turtles. Yeah, with the Splinter Clan, I just felt like, they were making this dojo, and they had lost somebody from their clan, and it just made total sense, especially for Alopex. She's been there since day one almost.
Absolutely, yeah.
God, throw her a bone or something, put her in the clan. Yeah, so that was really cool. I'm glad they let me do that. And I don't have any there's kind of going to be new additions to the actual clan, but not in the way that you might think. So there's not going to be any main new members who are going to show up and get their own mask or whatever, besides Alopex. But and they're they're the kind of 6 ninja masters, and I think it's gonna take a bit for another actual ninja master to show up and be taken in as a new sensei.
Alec?
I have kind of a more general, broad question for you, and which always kind of curiosity for me, for a lot of creators, is what was kind of the moment you realized you wanted to work in comics?
Probably pretty early. I was really into when I was a kid, I was really into Calvin and Hobbes and the old Mirage Turtle books. And
Oh, yeah.
like that's what really got me into it. Was like I had like the 4 like colorized, I think First Publishing was the company, and there were like these 4 collected books that were colorized from the original black and white stuff.
Yeah, I had a couple of those.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I had those, and that was pretty much it. And I guess the rest is history after that. That was pretty. Yeah, I think I was like 9 or 10 when I had that.
Were you one of those kids just constantly doodling in your notebooks at school?
Oh yeah,
Or
definitely.
you're just like, I just want to draw turtles. I don't want to pay attention to math.
Yeah, drawing turtles, drawing other cartoons and creatures and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty early on.
Yeah, I know my art teacher got mad at me for drawing turtles nonstop. He'd ask me to draw something else, and it ended up being Leonardo with a sword or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually going to be my next question is like, what type of background do you have with the Ninja Turtles? Obviously, you said you collected the Mirage stuff. Was there anything else like the movies or action figures you had a chance to enjoy as a kid?
Yeah, I was really into the toys. That was like the first thing that got me into the Turtles. Like, I was never like really into TV that much when I was a kid. I would watch like, a couple episodes of the Turtles cartoon here and there, but it was the toys and the old Palladium RPG, TMNT and Other Strangeness. That's what like really got me into it. And I kind of like shunned all the cartoon stuff after that. Like, I was like a purist when I was like 10 years old. I painted the masks on all my toys red.
Nice.
But yeah, like I remember seeing the first movie in theaters when I was a kid. But by the time the second one rolled around, like I was already in that like purist mode, where I was just like, it's just silly. It's silly when they have the colored masks. Forget it. And I kind of like snubbed Secret of the Ooze until many years later when I wasn't such a hard ass.
I feel like I went through that same phase too with Secret of the Ooze, where it's just like you kind of grow up and then you watch it again, like when you're on college age, just like, this really is like a kid's movie. But then you get like even a little bit older, and you're just like, you know what, this is a fun movie.
It's definitely cyclical.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good stuff in it. It's got when you like if you watch it with the idea that Dr. Perry is an alien, the whole movie suddenly makes sense. Yeah, I love Toka and Razar. It's got a lot of good stuff in there.
Just when Shredder
Turtles
makes it for me.
What's that?
Turtles in Time, though.
That was another one I snubbed as a kid, but
yeah,
rewatching it, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as people say it is.
It's funny because when I was a kid, like I certainly had a great affection for the original real Turtles, for lack of a better term, over the cartoon Turtles. But I love the cartoon Turtles too because I grew up with them, and I saw the first 2 movies in the theater and enjoyed them. Certainly the first one a lot, and then the third one came out. I definitely remember seeing it and being like, well, this kind of sucks. Like, it was the first time where I'm like, I feel like they're kind of taking this a little too far. I mean, it's fun for what it is, but the first movie I think is really.
Yeah, the first one's the best. That's great.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask about Lita, one of the newer characters in the TMNT run. And when we get kind of the twist with her character, she's holding a staff that kind of looks like something from that Turtles movie, actually.
Yeah.
Does you take a lot of influence from that, or is that just me seeing what I want to see?
That's Renette's time scepter from.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it doesn't. I tried to make it look more like the scepter in the Mirage books, and except like in the old comics, it had this like clawed hand or whatever on top of like the hourglass, and I was just like, I don't feel like drawing that hand over and over, so I just removed the hand and made a kind of a combination of like the scepter she was using in Turtles in Time and Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything. But yeah, that's Renette's Time Scepter.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But, you know, I feel like the one in Turtles 3 is kind of influenced by Renette's Time Scepter. So I guess it's sort of the movie Scepter in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I'll ask you the same question I asked Kevin previously about this awesome female influence on TMNT recently. What has it been like getting a chance to insert all of these new female characters? I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it too much previously, but Sally is another one that I think is has potential to be a very awesome character, and of course Jenica too. So, are there some of your favorites that you've had a chance to not only work with but get a chance to create for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Northampton arc, Koya is still my favorite. And you know, she as long as I'm on the book, she's not going anywhere. Yeah, so she's great, and getting to like expand on her and like, you know, give her more to do. But you know, I got to introduce Mona Lisa, which was cool. And I had actually never, like, I knew, you know, it's hard to avoid the character just like in the fandom. You know, there's like a ton of fan art and talk about her and stuff like that. And then she was in the 2012 series, but I had never actually seen the full episode of the old show with her until like a few years ago. And because I was thinking about like, I hadn't taken the main Turtles job yet, but I was just like, oh, like what would I do if I introduced Mona Lisa, just kind of from like a fan perspective. And so I was already like thinking about like what I would do with her. So that was really cool getting to bring her in. But yeah, there's Lita. Who else have we got? Oh, Diamond, the porcupine. She's pretty cool. Who else is there? I'm blanking on like my own comics.
Oh, no worries. I was actually going to ask about the relationship between Aloplex and Raphael as well. What's going on there?
Oh God, I was just like, you know, people were, you know, kind of shipping them from very beginning, and you know, in the original Raph micro issue, like Alopex was there, and they kind of had, you know, they were like enemies or whatever, and then she, you know, slowly went over to their side, and there's like kind of hints, you know, as to like what their relationship was, and then Tom and I did like issue number 66, where it's like more explicit, where like Raph is just like, you know, yeah, I'm into her, but you know, I'm not gonna do anything about it. And I just felt like, I don't know, it felt like a long time coming, and I was like, okay, I can't do this will there, won't they thing. Like, this book, I can't handle that. So let's just do it. Done. They're, you know, they're together finally after like 100,000 issues or whatever.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see the other relationships as well. Like I feel like we're eventually gonna have to hit that wall between Casey and Jenica, of course, once again on those. And then there's a little bit between Mona Lisa and Donatello a little bit. I know.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, that was something I hadn't like planned to do that, but like when I was doing the scripts and doing the artwork, because like a lot my scripts are pretty, I don't know, like bare bones, because like when I write for something that I'm drawing, you know, it's like I don't put a lot of detail because I know what it's going to be, I know what it is in my head. So like a lot of the Mona and Donatello stuff at first like wasn't even in the script. And like as I was like writing and drawing, I kept, you know, kind of running into these moments with them. And I was just like, I keep having them like, you know, interact and like run into each other. Like maybe I should, you know, pursue that a bit and see what happens. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I don't know if like what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do with Casey and Jenica yet. Because like I don't know, their relationship was like, you know, fairly fleeting in the scheme of things, I think.
Yeah, we got Lord Smaff in the chat. He says he does love that Jenica dynamic with Raphael as well. It doesn't take Raph's nonsense. I do like their relationship quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that was like when I took over, I felt like I had to do kind of a lot of groundwork. Like, Jenica, she was, hanging out with the turtles before, and then she was mutated, and then there was like, all the City at War stuff, like all the dragon stuff going on, and I felt like there hadn't been a time where she just kind of like, is part of the group. She just sits down, like everybody else is just there. And I felt like I had to like, okay, well now they're not, fighting for the fate of the city anymore. So they're going to have to all sit down in the same place and like interact in some way. So I had to like, I wanted to figure out like what her dynamics with each turtle was. And I always feel like how a character deals with Raph is kind of like a litmus test, And, I was thinking about it like, okay, like when Raph is like, flying off the handle or whatever, like, Leo, they butt heads or whatever. Leo tries to like control Raph. Michelangelo, he kind of like, tries to like diffuse Raph and make it, like ease the tensions or whatever. Donatello, he just kind of just like, oh, I'm out of here. And he just doesn't. And so I was like, well, what's like missing from that? And I thought Jenica should kind of be like, she just has like no time for like Raph.
Nonsense, yeah.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, stop whining. Like, we don't have, like, you're such a baby. I feel like in Raph, it's just, he's never heard something like that before from his brothers or whatever. So I thought that would be a fun dynamic. Somebody who just, she butts heads with him like Leo does, but she doesn't try to like control him and like put it like, she doesn't try to get him in line the way Leo does. She's just kind of makes fun of him, which I thought really fun.
I have a question. So I feel like, in the recent years, there's been this push for diversity in comics, which is great. And there's been a big push for, Black characters and female characters and stuff. But I feel like there's still a lacking diversity for LGBTQ characters. And I want to get your thoughts on what we could do to kind of get that more in the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, when I was working on Gem and the Holograms, like we made that like super gay, so that worked out really well. Yeah, in Turtles, like there's been a little bit. There's like Lindsay, who I definitely want to bring back. I love her. Yeah, actually, is that it in Turtles? I feel like I'm blanking on somebody else. I don't know. But regardless, yeah.
Yeah, but like as in industry as a whole, I feel like there's still kind of some like people. They still kind of shy away from that minority group.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in like in the big companies, like DC, Marvel, there's still kind of like this trepidation about it, but. In terms of like indie comics and like web comics and stuff like that, I feel like, or like like bigger publishing houses like First Second and Scholastic and stuff like that. I feel like there's like a really good number of queer creators and stories, and I feel like DC and Marvel, they're kind of like the outliers in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
It comes
sometimes I feel like you need the loudest voice in the room to be on your side, even if there's a lot of smaller voices.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, and it's hard with DC and Marvel because it's like they're mostly using telling stories about these characters who have like been around for like decades,
right?
And then kind of like pair that with they're now they're part of Disney, who is like historically like maybe even more resistant to that than Marvel's ever been. And it's just like I don't know. I don't know how to change it. I don't know. Besides just like more, queer people behind the page, behind the camera, in the boardroom meetings, whatever they do. I think like I don't know.
I guess my follow up to that would be: do you think it is important for the big two to kind of focus on that, or do you think it's all right that there's a lot of representation in more indie and small publisher books that if people want to find things they identify with, it's out there. But I feel like personally, I think that if it's kind of in the background a bit, it's still kind of like not where it should be.
Yeah, because I mean, there's obviously an audience for those other books, and like Random House and Simon and Schuster and stuff, like they outsell most of Marvel and DC stuff. So, but it's like the audience or like public perception is not there with those other publishers. So
right,
it would definitely be nice, if especially with the movies, I guess, like if Marvel suddenly had this like queer superhero starring in a big movie, and maybe that would like kind of trickle down.
Right.
Comics, because the comics, they tend to kind of reflect the movies in some way.
My concern would be that they would do it in a way that would like be like, oh, see what we're doing here, rather than just make it a thing and not make it a thing, which I think is the right way to do it. You just like, this character happens to be gay, or this character, whatever their orientation is, and it's just not like a thing. It's just part of who they are as a character. But I feel like the industry still like is not close to that.
No, yeah. Like it would be nice if they were, and like maybe I would read more of those superhero comics if they had more, gay and trans characters and stuff like that. But I look at the creators behind a lot of those books aren't queer. I mean, some are like, some are obviously, but like a lot aren't. And I feel like without the creators kind of pushing, without the editors pushing, that it's just going to kind of be business as usual. Or and especially because like a lot of those comics, like the creative teams, like they cycle, and work on like character X, and like different people will like work on character X. And a lot of times, like I think there was like a trans character in like Angela or something like that. And I remember like, people were like, oh, this is great, this is a big deal. And then she just kind of like after the creative team just moves on, like a lot of the queer characters introduced, they kind of fall by the wayside, or they get written out, or they just don't, they don't like necessarily get killed off or anything, but they just don't get used.
Just right, phased out of the story.
Right, yeah, they just kind of, the new writers are like, well, I don't really have any ideas for this other character. I really want to write Spider-Man. So then they just kind of fall by the wayside. But yeah, it would definitely be nice, like you're saying, if, there was like kind of a big push or change, I don't know, maybe someday that'll happen. I don't know.
Yeah, so as we're winding down here, I think I got one more turtle question. So as the book continues, is there a certain character we need to keep our eyes on? I know obviously Lita showing up from the future would be one big one, but are there any other characters that like are going to get like this big creative push in the book soon?
Let me think without giving anything away.
Hey, give it away. It's all right. Exclusive.
I have a big thing for Sally coming up.
Nice.
So yeah, that's big. And I'm finally gonna have Saki show up, Shredder, at some point, because he's been like kind of lurking in the background, like watching the turtles,
Yeah.
So he'll finally show up. and like make his presence known or whatever. And who else? I have a couple like classic characters that I'm finally getting to put in, but I won't reveal who those are. But keep an eye out for some familiar faces.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure after we wrap up, I'll think of the character I should have mentioned. Like, oh, I forgot this character. Huge storyline coming up. But
Very good. All right, so we're getting ready to sign off on this panel here. So where can people find you if they want to get in contact or just find your work? I'm
mostly active on Twitter. I'm at Mooncalf1, MOONCALFE1. And that's pretty much my home base. That's where I tweet, I post artwork, I post pictures of my toys, stuff like that. That's my main hub. I have a Patreon, which I'm blanking on the address right now.
I'm sure people can probably Google Sophie Campbell Patreon and find it.
It's on my Twitter.
There you go.
Nice.
If you want to go pay me some money. But yeah, that's pretty much where I am, is on Twitter.
Awesome. Well, we thank you so much for joining us. I know it was a short notice thing, and we definitely appreciate you making the time this afternoon and joining us and talking turtles. So any closing thoughts for the live people watching?
Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for reading my turtle books. Yeah, thanks so much.